Guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel, the Sub-Saharan programmer here. In this video, we're going to create a bottom sheet dialog, right? So that's exactly the one you're actually seeing now. That's what we're going to be creating in this video, God willing. It's been long since we last posted a video, but here we are, thank God. So let's dive into this. So right now, what we need to do is create a new resource file that is going to encompass all the data for the bottom sheet dialog. So we go to the layout, right click, then we go to new, then you click layout resource file. So this brings us to this window which prompts us to give the particulars of this particular bottom sheet dialog. So what we need to do is give the name. So we say layout bottom sheet main. So that's going to be the name of this resource file. So we click OK, then it generates the layout resource file. So what we need to do right now is give data to this resource file. So we click enter, and then what we need to do is create a text view, and then we're going to wrap this text view, wrap it again, and then we're going to close it, and then we're going to constraint it to the end of the parent, constraint it to the start of the parent, and then we're going to constraint it to the top of the parent, right? So that's going to center the text view, and then we have to give the color of this text view, and then the text color we're going to give it as white. You can see it now, but we have to first give the constraint layout a background, and then the background of this is going to be purple 200. I'm using system colors. I haven't generated any colors. These are all system colors, right? So you should be able to find them. So what we need to do is give this text a size. So it's going to be 18 SP, and then we have to give it a style that's going to be bold, and we have to keep all the text in caps. So what we need to go to is the functionality that says Android text all caps. Then we set that to true. That's a boolean. So booleans will return true or false, so we keep the true value. Then what we need to do is give the text value. So we're going to say text. So the value say that the journey begins. That's the text value. So you can actually see now the text is all in caps and it's bolded, right? So what we need to do is actually give it a margin top, give it some spacing, and we're going to give it a 5 dp, and yeah, that's kind of settled, right? So you see here we have this yellow background color. That's because that's a warning, and it's saying that we have this text in hard-coded string value. So what we need to do is actually transfer this hard-coded value to the strings resource. That way we can actually utilize it in different, say, layouts without actually having to actually hard code it. We can just actually direct it to the string resource and then get the particular string value, right? So what we need to do is just right click, show context values, and then extract string resource. So this is going to prompt us again. So we're just going to call this bottom sheet title, right? Bottom sheet title. And when I click OK, this is sent to the strings XML file. So this is the strings. I already opened it, so I'm going to close it and show you guys how we can open that. So we go to the values folder, and then you click the strings XML file, and then here we are. We have all the string files, particulars rather, and then they're under the resources tag. So this is the one that we actually generated. Bottom sheet title. I already pre-made these ones so that we can just like go through without actually writing all this text. So we go back to the layout bottom sheet. So right now what we need to do is actually create the views and then go to the constraint layout and then go on with the designs. So right now we need two views. View, we're going to give this a width of 10 dp, and we're going to give this a height of 3 dp. And we're going to give this an ID, view one, view one. We're going to close this. We're going to give it a background of white, color white, and then, so this is where the view is. And then what we need to do is, you can actually see we have an error there. That's because it's not constrained. So we're going to constraint it. The end is going to constrain to the start of the text view. So constraint end to start off this text view. So we haven't given it an ID, so we just need to give it an ID. ID text bottom title. Let's just call it that. Text bottom title. And this is going to send us to the text bottom title. So you can actually see the view moved. So next, what we need to do is constrain it to the top of the text view and then constrain it to the bottom of the text view. So constraint top of this text bottom title, constraint bottom of the same text view. So you can actually see now it's actually constraint sort of in the center. Now we need to give it a margin from the end. So margin end 8 dp. So now it actually moves to the side. So you can actually see we have some space there. So what we need to do is actually duplicate this. So on Windows, you just click Control D. I don't know on Mac, that's like on Windows. So we have an error here. That's because we actually duplicated it. So it has the same values. We just need to change this to 2. And then since it's the same duplicate file, it's constrained on the same constraints. We don't want that. So what we need to do is we're going to maintain constraint bottom and constraint top, but we're going to change this one. So it's going to be constraint end, right? But then it's going to constrain to the end of the text view. And the start of this view is going to constrain to the end of the text view. So what we need to do is constraint start to end of text bottom title, right? And then this is going to be margin start 8 dp. So right now you can actually see now we have a clear spacing, right? So that's done. So now we need to create the text view within the constraint layout. So we're going to create a new constraint layout, and then we're going to merge parent, but then we're going to wrap the content, and then we're going to close that. We're having sort of an error, so we constraint that end of parent, constraint start of parent, right? And then we're going to constraint top to bottom of, and then it's going to be the bottom of that top text view. So you can actually see it actually moved right there. So what we need to do next is actually create a new text view. So this is going to match parent, and then it's going to wrap content, and then we have to close this, give it an ID text bottom description. So we're just going to say descript, right? And we're going to give it a color, text color white, text size, whoops, text size, we're going to give this 16 sp. We're not going to give it a bolding style, it's just going to be normal, right? So text, now since you see how useful the string resourcing is, I don't have to actually write all those text values. I can just now go to the string particular and go to where it says details text, string bottom sheet detail text. So when I select that, boom, you see the text is now inclusive. It's included in the text view just like that, right? So what we need to do is align the text in the center and proceed, right? Text alignment, we use that, and then we center. You can now see we have some changes there. The text is centered, right? So we constraint this to top, constraint top of parent. That should be okay, right? We can just give it a constraint bottom just to be safer. Constraint bottom of parent, right? So that's done. So we're going to close this constraint layout, and then we have to create the button and the views, right? So what we need to do is create the button. Rather, we're going to use the card view, right? So because we need to actually nest views within the card view. Card view, we're going to use the normal card view. We're not going to use the material card view. So card view, and we're going to give this a custom value 150 dp, and then we have to give it a custom value as well, 50 dp, and then we have to close this like that so that it nests the other values. We have to constraint this below the constraint layout, so we have to give an ID to this as well. ID constraint bottom, right? So that's like the constraint layouts ID, right? So we're going to constraint top to bottom of constraint bottom, right? And then we're going to constraint end of parent, constraint start of parent, right? And you can actually see now we have this card view in the center. So what we want to do next is actually margin top it. So margin top 10 dp. So you can actually see now we've moved the card view up a little bit, right? So what we need to do is actually give it some card corner radius. So we do that by card corner radius 8 dp. So now you can actually see we didn't have corners earlier on. Now we have these corners, right? So I'm just going to remove this to show you guys how that changed. Zoom in, boom, boom. So that's a plugin that like shows you which shortcuts you can use in case maybe you don't know what they are. So it's called Key Promoter X. You can try that out if you want to know the shortcuts and all that. Let's zoom a little bit out. So you see we don't have any corners right now, but when we say when you go back to card corner radius 8 dp, you see now we have all those corners, right? So that's that. So next we need to have the text view within this. So that's what I was talking about when I said nesting. So this is the parent view, then the child view is going to be the text view. And then this text view is going to be wrap content, and then we're going to close this. We're going to layout gravity center this, layout gravity. So the gravity will allow us to actually move the view within the card view without necessarily needing to use any other views. So layout gravity center, so you can actually see the view actually moves from somewhere here to here. Then we need to give the text value text. So the text says let's go, and I already created the string value for it. So we just go to where it says a string bottom sheet go text. So we do that, then we have this text value. Then we need to actually give it a style bold. Then we need to give it a color, text color purple 200, right? So that matches with the background. And we need to give it a drawable at the end, right? So it's going to be drawable and double arrow 24, right? So that's the drawable, right? That looks not right. It's like one is down, one is up. Let's give it some padding 3 dp, 4 dp rather. So yeah, that's like a little bit makes a little bit of sense. And what we need to do next is check where we got this drawable, right? So I'll need to show you guys how you get drawables inside the drawable folder, right? And then how you can actually get it done. So we're still having a warning here. We'll do that later, God willing. So let's do that. Drawable, right click, new. So you go where it says vector asset, then you click the vector asset. Now here you can actually select which vector asset you want to use. So there's a clipart and there's a local file. So for the local files, you can choose the SVG or PSD, right? So we select the clipart, then you click here where it says clipart, then you choose the one you want. Say delete, then click OK, then you choose the color here, and then yeah, proceed. So this is 24 by 24. Then you click next. If you want to change the color, you click there, and then you can enable auto mirroring for right to left layouts. Then we click next, right? So that's done. Then you click finish, then boom, you actually create a new resource file. So where is that? Yeah, delete here. So you can actually see it's there, right? So when we close this, so I'll need to delete this because we're not going to use it. Delete, boom. And now we have that's because that's the one we actually needed. That's the one we're actually using, right? And I just wanted to show you guys how you could actually achieve that. So here we have this warning. We need to use, I think, drop and compat, yes. So you actually just click Alt Enter if you're on Windows. I don't know about Mac, really say that. So fix, then you have that, right? So you have the drawable and compat. So what we're remaining with now is the views, right? So we close that. Now we need to actually create the views. View, these ones are going to match parent. That's the width, and for the height, we're going to give this 4 dp, right? And we're going to close that. Whoops, not that type of closing. Whoops, again. Yeah, okay, yeah, the type of closing. So we'll give an ID to this ID view longer, or let's just call it view lengthened. Yeah, lengthened 1. Then we create another one. Oh, before that, we just need to give this a background white, right? And then we have to actually move it to constraint to the top of the card view. So this is going to be constraint top of this card view, right? We haven't given it an ID, so we need to give it an ID. ID, let's call it card forward, right? Card forward. So that's the ID of this card view. Then we can actually proceed with what we wanted to do. So card forward. So that moves this view to here. So we need to actually margin top it, margin top 16 dp. So that moves 16 values up and goes down. So we need to duplicate this, create 2 more, Control D, that's 1, and then Control D again, that's 2, right? So you can actually see we have errors. That's because we actually duplicated the file. So we just need to give IDs and change a few minor things. So we have here again 3. All right. So the constraint top here, the second one, is not going to be 16, it's going to be 24, right? And then this final one is going to be 32 dp, right? So you can actually see now it's actually making sense. And this card, forgot one thing, needs to be elevated. So card elevation. So we have to give this 6 dp. So that elevates the card view up a little bit. So right now we've actually achieved what we wanted to do. So we have the text, there, we have the card view, and then we have the views. So pretty much that's what we had for you guys today. Creation of the bottom sheet dialog. I hope you guys actually followed through. And if I was fast, leave a comment. And if I was slow, and if I missed a couple of things, make sure you comment and give me feedback. Thank you guys for your time. Have a good day if it's day that side. Have a good night if it's night that side. And have a good afternoon if it's afternoon that side. Thank you for your time.